This week's talk is called What to Do When It's Hard to Forgive. And as always, I have some quotes to start with. First one is by Ernest Holmes. The answer to every question is within us, because we are within spirit, and spirit is an indivisible whole. The solution to every problem, the healing of all disease, the forgiveness of all sin. God is the infinite spirit, the limitless conscious life of the universe, the one indivisible whole. Next one's by Maya Angelou. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself to forgive. Forgive everybody. And lastly, we have Martin Luther King. Forgiveness is not an occasional act. It is a constant attitude. So before I get into what it takes, what you need to do when it's hard to forgive, let me speak to the paradox we face. The paradox is life is both deeply personal and not personal at all. It's deeply personal because we're the ones experiencing it. It's not personal because whatever the other thing or other person is doing has nothing to do with you at all. So both are going on at the same time, and this is the paradox. So there's lots of folks that say, don't take anything personal. And that's great to say, but for most of us, we experience life very viscerally. I know that I do. And so it feels personal, even though intellectually I know it isn't. So the act of forgiveness wouldn't even be necessary if we were enlightened enough to simply not take it personal. But since we do take it personal, we find the act of somebody say, I'm sorry, to be a very visceral thing, a bodily reaction to it. If we're open, and sometimes even when we're not. Even when we're not open, the act of forgiveness in our bodies, we can feel it, even when our minds are screaming, no. I struggle with forgiveness, even though I know it's healthy for me, even though I know intellectually that holding on to whatever I'm upset about is hurting me more than whatever I need to forgive. It's still hard. I get triggered. And I think we all might have pet triggers and people who trigger us the most. For me, it's my wife Ashley and my son Isaac, and most of all myself. I trigger myself a lot. For others, it may be people close to you, but it might also be the environment, corruption, or any one of the many horrors that happen in the world at any moment. We have huge reasons not to forgive. And again, walking down that path of consciousness for any length of time, we know how important forgiveness actually is. Sometimes we lose track of that because of this other idea of not taking anything personal. But I want to say again that we do take stuff personal, and as long as we do, forgiveness is important. And so for Gerald Jampolsky says, forgiveness means letting go of the past. Now there's another one of those catchphrases that drove me crazy for years. Letting go. What is this letting go? How do you do it? What does it mean? And people would just say, just do it. Just let go. And I'd be like, what do you mean just let go? How do you do that? How do you do that? It was incredibly difficult for me to even grasp the concept of letting go in terms of my visceral experience of upset. But now I understand. Now I know how to let go, and I know how to forgive. Here's what I do. Step 1. You have to want to. You actually have to want to forgive. If you're thinking to yourself, I'm never going to forgive this person or those people or whatever it is you're upset about, you're never gonna, because you get to make that choice. So step 1 is always that you gotta wanna. And I highly recommend wanting to forgive for the healthy reasons that we've already talked about. Step 2, imagine yourself as already having done it. Imagine yourself as in that peace, poise, power, loving place where you have already forgiven. Imagine what it feels like. Take it in and then believe that it's possible. Because, if you think it's impossible for me to ever forgive this, it is. You're right. So it's really important to be in a place of not only imagining yourself as what it would feel like to forgive, but believing that it's possible to do so. The third step, whenever you're angry or caught up or upset or in that place of not forgiving, remember steps 1 and 2. Remember that you want to forgive. And then secondly, imagine what it would be like if you did. And do that as often as you need to, because that's the spiritual practice. To simply want to be in that place of wanting to forgive and being in a place of love. And secondly, imagining what it would feel like to do that. And the fourth step, trust in perfect right place and time. Trust and have faith that of course you will reach a place of forgiveness. You are a powerful, creative, spiritual being. You will of course get there. You need to have faith and you need to trust in that you will get there. Forgiveness, this is a quote by Mark Twain. Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it. I love that quote. I have felt crushed by the weight of whatever has triggered me lots and lots of times. It is absolutely true that whatever it wasn't personal. And if I understood that it wasn't personal, not just understood it intellectually, but embodied that it wasn't personal, I would have never felt crushed in the first place. But as we have already said, I am not yet an enlightened being. And if you are not either, forgiveness is a piece of the process. So we need to be into the act of letting go and forgiving for our own health and well-being. Now here's the key. Don't concern yourself with the how. When I used to get caught up in how was I going to let go? How was I going to forgive given the weight of the pain that I was feeling around something? I never got anywhere. What finally worked for me was sitting in that place of number 1, wanting to, number 2, imagining what it would feel like if I did, believing that that was possible. Practicing 1 and 2 whenever that upset resurfaced in itself, because I noticed for myself that if I'm upset about something, I may not just have to let it go once, but many times. You may not have that thing happen for you, but for me, a lot of times it's this spiritual practice that I need to let go over and over and over. And then step 4, trust. Trusting that, of course, if I keep at this spiritual practice, it will heal. I will let go, and I will forgive. Now, the big piece about knowing right time, right, perfect and right time, is that if you don't, you will wind up beating yourself up for not letting go fast enough. And then you've created another situation you need to forgive. Because forgiving yourself is really, really important. In fact, one of the best reasons to forgive is that it leads to loving yourself. And it only through loving yourself do your dreams come true. So it is worth every effort to heal, to let go, and to forgive, to do whatever it takes, because it's really not about the forgiveness. It's about loving yourself and your dreams coming true. And this leads me back to the identity prayer, because when we're trying to imagine what it's like, I have found no better description than the identity prayer that we read at the beginning of each service, that to lead us to that place of knowing what it would be like when we fully forgive and let go. So let's read it again right now. I know that within myself there is that life which is perfect, complete, divine. It was never born and cannot die, for it lives and is God. Within myself is the wholeness, peace, poise, and power of life. This life is health. It is abundance. It is love. There is one life. It is the life of God, and this is my life now. When we know that to be true within ourselves, we are, of course, in a place of forgiveness. We are, of course, in a place of letting go of anything that is not peace, poise, and power. Anything that is not love. This affirmation, this prayer is not just an affirmation, it is a destination. It is a vision for imagining what life would be like if we fully let go, when we fully let go and forgive. You have within you a Christ consciousness awaiting your permission to light up. No matter how dark you may feel, there is nothing outside the one mind. There is nothing outside whatever you call spirit, God, whatever. So it must be within you. It must be you. And so it is, but because we have free will, it is awaiting your permission to light up. And the way we give permission is to let go and forgive. Rest in peace, poise, and power. When we are filled with abundance and love and health and well-being, we light up like a Christmas tree. The Christ consciousness shines within to without. And we are not only lighting ourselves up, but the world. Each and every one of us has the ability to light up the world through letting go and forgiveness. This is a job worth doing. This is what we do when forgiveness is hard. First, we want to. Second, we imagine what it's like to have already done it. Third, we practice the first two steps as often as we need to. And fourth, we trust and have faith that Christ consciousness will of course light up because we have set it in motion. And what we set in motion, we will ultimately embody. And what we embody lights up the world. Thank you. I love you.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.